Hi, Black Diamonds. Hi, my Black Diamonds. How are you doing? I'm sure we are all doing fine and everything is well at our little corner. I've missed you, my Black Diamonds. It's rather unfortunate that I was a little bit busy and could not come to give us a little story on our story time. Let me get the fan a little bit away from us. Yeah. Okay, but we are here today to share a little story, and I'm sure we are all going to enjoy this story. So she was tight because of insurance money. Now, this is the story. This is our little story. Now, there was this nurse living in a neighborhood, one neighborhood somewhere. She was an amazing nurse, a very quiet woman, and she was married to this flippant man. Like, the man will talk and talk. He was very flippant and will always have something to say. He will always have something. Whenever he meets someone, he's always saying things to a lot of people, always saying things to people, right? So a lot of husbands these days, they feel like their wives are going to, if they are not there tomorrow, their wives are going to inherit their property, right? The wives are going to inherit their property, and the selfish ones, they don't want the wives to inherit their property, so they are definitely taking the wives off their inheritance. They are not including their wives in their will anymore. Their plans is to, some of them, we heard, as we are hearing every day, some of them are actually putting their parents' names or their mother's names on their they are putting their how do we call it again, they are putting their property under their parents' names. Some are putting under their mother's names, others under their father's names, keeping this property to themselves. They don't want to, like, if they are not there tomorrow, their hello wisdom movie PM. So who is that? Is that the wisdom I know or someone else? How are you doing? So they are actually let me see. Okay, they will actually put it in under their parents, under their mothers. Most of the men are putting it under their mothers, and they definitely don't want the ladies to inherit from anything, to gain anything if they are not there in the near future. So this man was one of them, but before he could even do that, something different happened. So he had planned that even after the divorce, he was not going to give anything to his wife. And since he was a very flippant man, he went everywhere telling everybody, I'm divorcing her very soon. And when I divorce her, she's not going to get anything from me. I'm divorcing her very soon. She's no longer going to be my wife. I am tired of this marriage. I want out, and all of that. He was just so everywhere telling everyone about his so-called failed marriage. Let me put it that way, because it was not actually failed, but he was like already preparing everyone's minds that he's about to divorce his wife, and sure, she's not going to get anything from his property. She was not going to get anything. So he kept saying that for a very long period of time, for like months. He was everywhere telling everyone how his wife is not going to get anything from him after their divorce, and he's going to divorce his wife very soon. He was all about, I'm divorcing her very soon, and she's not going to get anything from me. He didn't even bother to check if he had changed his will before making this announcement. He didn't even bother about that, and he didn't change his will because the wife was still a part of his will while he was busy making all these announcements, while he was busy struggling to cut his wife off his inheritance or his property without even making the necessary arrangements or the necessary documents to keep his wife off, like the divorce proper and changing his will as well. So one day, while he was driving back home, he got into an ambush, right? There were armed robbers everywhere, and these armed robbers were actually on a mission. They were on a mission to attack somebody. And oh, I just realized that we had another video that I made, and on that day the network was not friendly, so we had to stop that video because the network ceased on that day, so we did not conclude on that video. So we are going to come back to it because we definitely had to conclude on that video. I think that was 2 days ago, the last video I made, the last time I came online. Okay, let's go back to our story. So he did not make the necessary arrangements, like he did not change his will, he did not do all of that. So his plans were just to get her off any inheritance, so she wouldn't get anything from him when he is no longer there, but without making the necessary arrangements. So this day he met these armed robbers on the way. He met these armed robbers, and they killed him. He made an ambush. The armed robbers did not come for him actually, but he found himself where he was not supposed to be at that time, and he was caught up in the firing, the gun. I don't know, YouTube these days, I don't understand. I don't want to use some words that I'm going to be penalized for. Okay, so he found himself in that situation, and he got shot. He died. So this man died without even changing his will. He died after making a lot of announcements about how he's going to divorce his wife. The wife will not benefit anything from his property. His inheritance will not go to the wife, and all of that. So he made all these announcements, and at the end of the day, he did not change his will before dying. So he actually died. He passed away. So after all the burial arrangements, everything, he was buried, everything went well, and it was time for them to read the will. Even the family members, they were already against the wife because they did not understand how this man will find himself in that kind of situation and why he had to die, all of that. So they were like against the wife and accusing the wife of mother, that the wife has killed their brother, the wife has killed their son. They cannot let her go free. They have to find out what happened, why she did what she did, and all of that, without even knowing that. Now what they didn't think of is that you cannot accuse someone without evidence, right? You're supposed to have the evidence, all the evidence to prove that this person did what you are saying the person did. So but there was no evidence against this woman. There was no evidence to prove that the wife actually murdered her husband. There was no evidence. So the woman was free. And since this man did not change the will, since he did not change his will before leaving this world, the wife equally got most of the inheritance, because it was still on his will that the wife is the major inherit. The wife is the next of kin. Yeah, that is how they say it, right? English. That the wife is the next of kin. So the wife actually inherited everything. She inherited his mansions, his bank accounts, everything. There's something about inheritance, guys, that if you're not careful, when you inherit things that you did not work for, there is a probability for you to like waste everything, because People who don't work for things, they don't know how to manage it, they don't know how to control it, they don't know how to keep it. You are able to, most often statistics has shown that people who know how to manage things and know how to keep them are people who work for them. When it gets into the hands of others, trust me, they will not manage it the way you managed it. They will not keep it the way you kept it. They will not hold it in high esteem, in high value the way you did, right? That is why some people, they don't even want to keep their money. They want to squander everything while they are still alive, because they don't trust the people that will be handling their finances when they are not there. So this woman, she inherited a lot. There was a lot. Even the late husband's company, she inherited all of that, and she was financially stable. This same inheritance that the husband had been singing everywhere, that she's not going to get anything, he's not going to give her anything, this woman actually was the one running everything now. She was the one running his company. She was the one handling his bank accounts. She was the one that has now finally been the owner of 2 amazing mansions that this man had. Apparently they had 3 kids, right? Now let me switch off this fan, the noise. They had 3 kids that they had managed to send abroad. They had sent them abroad, so the children were abroad, and they were also part of this inheritance. But was their mother was the highest person who the mother was the one who was to control the highest share of the inheritance. So the children had no control over majority of the inheritance. Everything was under their mother. So after the burial, they took what was theirs and they left to their various destinations, because they were no longer a part of their home, because they had already gone out. They were now living abroad and taking care of their own families. So apparently they just had to go back after their father's burial. They had to go back to their lives. Normally that's what we do all the time. When we go for funerals, we have to remember to go back to our lives. The person who is gone, and we have to continue with our own lives, learning lots of lessons from those who have stayed alive and what they did, learning a lot of lessons from them. So the kids had gone back to their lives. Their mother stayed back now to enjoy her late husband's inheritance. I don't know if I told you that she was a nurse. This lady was a nurse, and she was also earning some money, though not as much as her husband. But she was also a salary earner. She had her own little money. It may not be as much as that of her husband, who owned an amazing business, but she also had her own money. Now she was living in luxury. She did not drop her job. She was managing her husband's company, managing the mansions. She gave out one on rent, and she was living in one, and the company was doing just fine while she still maintained her job. The point here now I don't understand is, why did she still maintain her job? Because if you follow the story very well, you realize that the man had a multi-million company, which means it was producing a lot of millions, while the wife was still managing the job of a nurse. We all know when it goes back home in Africa, the nurses are not being paid that much. Even if they are being paid that much, it is just like enough to just keep your life together, not like you're going to have some luxury in that salary. No, nurses are not being paid that much. So but she kept her job even after her husband's dismay. She kept her job, and she was still doing her job. Now she was doing just fine until 2 years after 2 years, this woman had sold one of the mansion. I don't really know, and I don't understand how she managed this money. Guys, it is advisable to always have your husbands and your wives involved in your businesses. It is always very important, because if you don't involve your wife in your businesses, you don't involve your husband in your businesses, when they are not around, it will be difficult for these husbands or wives that you have left behind to be able to manage whatever business you had. It will be very difficult. It will be so difficult. How would the wife manage what she doesn't even know how it functions? How would the husband manage what he doesn't even know how it functions, right? So it is important, when we are still alive and we have some businesses, it is advisable to carry our wives along. It is advisable to carry our husbands along. Show them how the business functions. Show them how to run the business. So when you are not around, when you have passed to the next life or to the next world, they will be able to continue this business on your behalf in your absence. They'll be able to do this business without any stress, because if this man had taught his wife, had showed his wife how he was managing his business, right, she couldn't have squandered a multi-million business in 2 years. Like, she became a traveler. She was traveling to every country. She was just enjoying life. She was just having a time of her life. Like, at one point I was asking myself, was this man preventing this woman when he was alive to enjoy life? Apparently, maybe he was doing that, because from the way this man was very flippant and was telling everyone about his divorce, maybe this woman was not truly having it easy at home. She was not having it easy. So it was just a time of her life. Like, let me enjoy life. I have the opportunity now. I have all the money. Let me enjoy life to the fullest. Let me enjoy life as much as I can. Okay, so she was traveling everywhere, enjoying her life, staying in luxurious hotels, like eating all the luxurious food she could find where she was going to, traveling from one country to another, and she was just having fun. And after 2 years, she realized that she had squandered everything, and she could barely take care of the mansion she was living in. She even sold the other mansion, because there were two mansions. So she was living in one and she sold the second mansion. Why would you sell your mansion? Why would you sell your inheritance? Why would you sell something that important? Why would you do that? So what if tomorrow, because if she had kept that mansion, at least the rents of that mansion could have helped her at this point that she has nothing, at this point that she has squandered everything. That mansion could have been of great help to her, right? Yes, that mansion could have been of great help to her. At least she could have used it as a source of income. Okay, now I don't have my husband's multi-million company. I don't have anything, but at least I have a mansion that I will collect the rents of this mansion, and I'll be able to take care of myself. I'll be able to take care of my needs, right? But no, she had nothing. Everything was gone. Everything was gone. She had squandered everything. She didn't have anything left. She had just herself, without any money, without anything, and her life was gradually becoming miserable. Now, what happened next? At the other end, in a village, there was a very beautiful young girl. She was just 15, living her life, enjoying the little bits of her life that she had. And she was very, very intelligent. Like, this little girl was very intelligent. She passed all her exams and she had to go to the university, but her parents could not afford to send her to the university. Her parents could not afford the money to send her to the university. You know, when you have to send a child to the university, it's not all about the school fees. The university requires a lot. The university entails a lot. You need, if you don't have anyone in the city, you don't have anyone in town, you have to pay her rent, take care of her feeding and all of that. But the parents could not afford this, so they had to plead with their daughter to give them like 2 years to be able to put themselves together, raise some money so she could go to the university. And she was very, very understanding, because she didn't bother. She told her parents she's very okay with that. She will take some time while they are struggling to raise some money. She will also go from one house to another, help people to wash their dresses, just do some house chores for people to pay her. No matter how little you pay her, she will also put the money together to be able to support herself in the university when the time comes. So that was her life, struggling as well to go to the university. So this brother, she was also worshiping in church, and this brother came and told the family that there is this lady in town, this nurse who had lost her husband, her kids are abroad, and she is living alone in her house. She needed someone to stay with her, help her with a little house chores, company. I mean, it's so difficult to stay in the house alone. But then this woman as well, she had a gardener. The gardener was living in the compound with her, but she needed someone to be like a family to her. I don't know if she didn't have relatives and all of that, why she didn't contact her relatives to get someone from her family to come live with her in her mansion. She was looking for someone else. So this brother told the family of this young girl, she was just 17, told the family of this young girl everything, and how this lady is looking for someone to live with her in the house. The person will be in charge. She will be like a house help, but like family too, because she just wanted company, someone to be with her in the house. That is how the parents of this young girl were preparing to send her to go live with this woman in town. Now, what did this woman do? Since she was already bankrupt and she had already started living a very high life, considering the fact that she was squandering her late husband's money. She had kept a standard. She had already built a standard that she could not maintain, because she didn't have the money anymore to maintain that high standard. She could not ask her kids, because every time she will go to them for support, they will ask her what she has done with their late father's inheritance, what she has done with all the money that was left her by their late father, and she could not explain. So the kids were actually mad at her for just squandering everything, for wasting their father's sweat, for wasting all his hard work and all of that. They were not happy with her at all, and they refused to support her financially. They refused to even give her money, because to them she's supposed to have more than enough if she was actually managing everything she was supposed to manage properly. But she didn't. So she had squandered everything, and oh my god, life was not easy with her. Guys, we are going to end this story here today. We'll come tomorrow with the part 2 of the story. We are going to have a continuation of the story tomorrow. Like, I have to run to somewhere. I didn't just want to go today without coming live. I have not been live for 2 days, and I didn't want to add today as the third day of not being live. Tomorrow we are going to come up much more earlier than today, and we'll have the rest of the story. Then we'll have a lot of lessons, because there are lots of lessons we are going to learn from this story. So we'll come with the lessons as well that we will be learning from this story. It's a very sad story. It is a very interesting one as well, and it has a lot of lessons to be learned. So we are going to end here for today, while preparing to see you tomorrow, to continue with the story tomorrow, so we can get the next part of the story. Trust me, a lot is unfolding at the next a lot is unfolding during the next part of the story. That's tomorrow. So make sure you will be here. You grab your popcorns and get ready for us to to finish the rest of the story tomorrow. It's a tragedy. Yeah. So we it's sad, but then we are going to come tomorrow to finish this story. Thank you all for being amazing. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you for listening to our story. I don't know why it's a little bit difficult for me to just make these videos and upload them, but I'll try. It's really very hot now, and sometimes even indoors is very hot, so you can't survive without the AC, you can't survive without the fan. And I have my traditional AC. It makes a lot of noise. That's why sometimes it's a little bit difficult to just create those videos. I'll need to stand on the camera, and I don't want to stand there and start sweating like I'm sweating now. That's why most often, even when I'm live, I have to run away with my face, run away with myself, and just show you a part of the house. We just focus on this part of the house and we do the video. Just listening to my voice, listening to the story without seeing my sweaty face. Okay, thank you guys, and see you tomorrow. So we'll be coming back tomorrow. Okay, bye.